My name is Naledi Mfoloe, and it is my absolute pleasure to welcome you to the latest edition of the African Diaspora News channel, where we unravel the stories that shape our world and our community. Now, Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky's visit to South Africa has triggered a backlash from political groups, activists, and ordinary citizens alike. Now, for those who may have missed it, Zelensky's arrival in South Africa was supposed to mark an important diplomatic moment, but it has quickly turned into a political fiasco. Now, protests erupted almost immediately with demonstrators from the EFF and the MK Party and the South African Communist Party, all demanding that Zelensky departs. Now, why? Because many believe his visit represents a betrayal of unity and principles of BRICS, which is a group emerging economies that South Africa is actually a part of. Let's watch this video.
We are staging anti-Zelensky protest or a picket as the economic freedom fighters to demonstrate our dissatisfaction against President Ramaphosa for him to allow or welcome President Zelensky, a puppet of the West, a warmonger and a murderer in our country. We view this trip or his visit here in South Africa now as a provocation and incitement by President Ramaphosa. South Africa is a sellout, it is selling out. It cannot be on a neutral position on matters like this. Selling out or being on a neutral position means that South Africa will abstain. South Africa will not take decisions, will not take sides, will not decide to vote either on this side or the other side. And that we have seen by South African government abstaining on voting, even during the United Nations. But that is what makes us to be here, because we are led by a puppet president also of Ramaphosa, who's not consistent in terms of geopolitical dynamics and balance of forces in terms of how we're going to move. You can't then go and meet with my enemy's enemy in our doorstep or in our boardroom here in the country where we've maintained a clear relationship with Russia during not only now, during Putin. South Africa has maintained a clear relationship with Russia during the 1980s, during the dark days of apartheid. Russia has supported us with weapons, supported us with everything to make sure that we fight the regime of apartheid government. It cannot be today that you go and sit in a meeting with someone, with a warmonger, and a puppet of the USA, a puppet of the West, whose only obsession is warmongering and killing of our people. And then that's why we say they cannot take this position, because it's a provocation. And we think that Cyril Ramaphosa is part of this provocation, because you can't fail to go and address issues of M23 in Congo. Simple issues that affect your country. We have not seen the African Peace Initiative during Congo. We have not seen its results. We have not seen its impact. But now you go and rush to international politics that have full capacity to can come and hunt us as the country or as the developed countries here in Africa or other countries.
Now, the protesters have actually labeled Zelensky as an aggressor, accusing him of being a facilitator for NATO's expansion in the region. And let's be honest, many South Africans have not forgotten how African students, particularly those from South Africa, were treated when war broke out in Ukraine back in 2022. We saw a lot of images and reports from African nations being denied safe passage and being discriminated against at train stations and being mistreated simply because of the color of their skin. Now, can you blame us for feeling that this visit is not only unwelcome, but utterly disrespectful? Because what was President Cyril Ramaphosa thinking when he welcomed Zelensky to our land? What possible benefits can South Africa gain from further aligning themselves with Ukraine or supporting NATO's expansion? The answer seems quite obvious if you ask me. There's none. This is a reckless move. A country like ours, a key member of the BRICS, should be looking towards unity with other allies in the global south and not cozying up with Ukraine.
Zelensky is not welcomed here because we don't want Western imperialists here. During the President Zuma's presidency, we joined BRICS. We are part of the BRICS Plus countries, and as MK, we are not apologetic about it. He's coming here also for business interests. We are talking.
Echoing the same resistance, Nlamolo Ndlela, a member of the National Assembly, accused Ramaphosa of playing into NATO's hands by hosting Zelensky.
We're here to demonstrate that we are anti-Ramaphosa inviting Zelensky to our country when he knows very well that South Africa is a member of BRICS. Now, for him to invite a man who has been associated and who is really a facilitator of NATO's agenda against Russia,
Facing mounting hostility and an urgent crisis back home, Zelenskyy abruptly cut short his visit following a deadly overnight missile and drone assault on Kyiv by Russian forces. He departed Pretoria within 4 hours of arrival.
Now, as a South African, I personally can't help but feel betrayed by this move. We have long advocated for peace and for self-determination and for the rights of African countries to chart their own course, free from the intervention of Western powers in this country. Yet here we are with our government entertaining a figure who has been at the center of a war that has devastated millions and, quite frankly, has little regard for the struggles of the African continent. And it's quite clear that South Africans have no interest in becoming pawns in a Western geopolitical game. Our country is a part of BRICS, which is a platform that should stand for unity and cooperation among nations of the global South and not as a tool for Western imperial ambitions. And let's not forget what Zelenskyy's visit actually symbolizes, because it's not just about Ukraine, but it's actually about NATO and the Western imperialism pushing their influence on our continent. We've seen the devastating effects of colonialism and foreign intervention in Africa. Why would we want to align ourselves with those who continue to play the same games in different forms in our backyard? Now, I'm sure a lot will argue that we should maintain diplomatic relations, that staying neutral is actually the way forward. But neutrality should not mean sacrificing our values. It should not mean turning a blind eye to the injustices happening on the global stage, especially when it involves exploitation of African nations. This visit was a mistake, and I believe it's time for us to say no. No to NATO's expansion, no to Western intervention in Africa, and no to further entanglements in conflicts that have no direct bearing on our continent's future. South Africa must stand firm in the commitment to BRICS and to the values of non-interference, solidarity, and cooperation among nations of Global South. We need leaders who are focused on the people of South Africa and the African continent and not on being pawns in someone else's game. So, to Zelenskyy and to the powers that be, know this. We do not need you on our land. We are not your allies in this war, and we have our own struggles and our own aspirations and our own path to follow. I say, let's continue to stand for Africa's interests and no to imperialism in all its forms. Now, let's continue the conversation in the comment section. I really want to hear what your thoughts are on this, and while you're at it, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up